And what about the parents? Do we expect either of the parents to be here?
No, Judge. No, I won't, my client won't be here.
Okay.
And Judge, I've tried texting my client, the mom, and I don't have any contact with her right now.
Okay. Okay. Now, who is Miss Peralta?
She's the intervener, Judge.
Okay. We are appearing by Zoom. This is a permanency review before a final hearing. So I'd like to have announcements first. We'll start with Mr. McKeska.
Thank you, Judge. Drake McKeska, attorney for the department. Ms. Shelf.
Catherine Shelf, permanency specialist with Belong.
Christy Knott, permanency supervisor with Belong.
Jennifer Harris, attorney for alleged father and alleged unknown father. I'm ready.
Okay. Thank you.
Rochelle Acevedo for the mother. She's not present, not ready, Your Honor.
Alana Pearsall, attorney for intervener Janelle Peralta, who is present, and I'm ready. Ms. Peralta, will you unmute and state your name, please?
Janelle Peralta.
Deborah Fuller, attorney and guardian ad litem for the child. Your Honor, ready.
Jill Roden, Tri-County CASA.
Kristen Rumley, Tri-County CASA volunteer.
Okay, are you the permanency specialist assigned to this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you give the court an update on how Raina is doing in her current placement?
Certainly. Raina is doing very well. She does attend daycare. She goes to church. She goes out on family outings. Sundays is usually their fun day. She is current on her medical and her dental needs and will have a new dental evaluation in March. On her medical needs, there are concerns with her blood sugar dropping. She is seeing an endocrinitis specialist to see what's causing it. In the meantime, she is on a glucose monitor that if she gets sluggish, they'll check her sugars. If it's low, they'll give her some like a fruit cup or some juice to help increase it and then just monitor from there. But she seems to be doing really well by just adding some more fruits and natural sugars into her diet while we get this sorted out. She is not on any medication. She's usually a very joyous. She's starting to talk much more, and she is currently potty training.
Okay, and she's placed with Miss Peralta, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And how long has she been with Miss Peralta?
For I want to say a year and a half.
Okay. Do you have any concerns at all for the care that Raina is receiving from Miss Peralta?
No, sir.
Do you believe that continuation in this placement is in her best interest?
Yes, sir.
And are you asking the court to continue that placement today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is the current permanency goal for Raina?
Relative adoption.
And is that by Miss Peralta?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is Miss Peralta licensed at this point?
She will be licensed by the end of the month.
Okay, and what agency is she working with?
I believe it's Divinity.
Okay. Can you give the court an update on how Miss Reyes is doing in her family plan of service?
Ms. Reyes still has yet to insert inpatient treatment. In December, she reached out to Journey Recovery and asked to be removed from the list. And then in January, did call back asking to be added back to their list, but stated she needed to do a psychological because she was concerned for her mental health. She has and didn't know she was fit to enter treatment. I did send her the psychological, which also recommended that she do enter inpatient treatment on February 1st. And they have her Rachel at Journey Recovery. They have not heard from her. I have spoken to her regarding Alpha Home, and she has informed me she does not wish to attend Alpha Home. Her last drug test that she submitted to was in November. She has missed her drug tests in January and February, but did admit to me on February 27th that she is still using methamphetamine. She is not currently engaged in any services at this time.
Okay. And in fact, Ms. Reyes has been ordered to enter into inpatient treatment 3 prior times by this court. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You say she's not engaged in any other services. So what is the status of her being able to attend individual counseling?
The referrals are all open, but at the last hearing, the judge did order that she needs to go to inpatient and focus on that versus the other services.
Okay. You said that she completed her psychological evaluation. Were there any other recommendations from that evaluation that are not currently on her family plan?
was the parenting, and then a consultation that we get her a consultation with the DARS vocational rehabilitation.
Okay. And has that been set up at this point?
No, sir.
Okay.
Let me stop you just a minute, Mr. McKesk. It looks like Ms. Reyes may be present on the call. If you're present, Ms. Reyes, would you state your name, please? Unmute and state your name.
Marisol Reyes.
All right. So I'm glad you're here because you need to be hearing this testimony. I meant to overrule Ms. Acevedo's announcement of not ready because we are proceeding today. So go ahead with your questioning, Mr. McKeska.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Schoaf, with regard to domestic violence, is Ms. Reyes engaged in a domestic violence program?
No, sir. She attended one session and has not returned.
Okay. Is the referral for that domestic violence program still open and available to her?
Yes, sir.
Okay. With regard to a parenting program, has she engaged in a parenting program?
No, sir. She has not.
Okay. Is there any necessary referral for the parenting program, or is that something she's able to just enroll in on her own?
She can enroll on her own.
Okay. And does she have the contact information for the parenting program that you've referred her to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your report indicated that she completed anger management. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Then finally, is Ms. Reyes attending any sort of parent-child visitations?
Yes, sir. She is attending visitation.
Okay. How are those visits going?
Those visits go really well. Reina is very happy to see her mom. Marisol makes sure to play with her throughout the entire visit, will change her diaper, and does provide food during every visit.
Okay. And how often is Ms. Reyes visiting with her daughter?
Every other week.
Okay. Are you proposing any changes to that visitation plan at this time?
No, sir.
Okay. And how would you classify Ms. Reyes' overall level of compliance with her family plan?
Out of compliance.
Can you give the court an update on Mr. Alcanides and how he's doing his family plan?
Certainly. He has not submitted to the DNA paternity testing. And I did request a drug test, which he did not submit to. He is currently incarcerated in Medina County Jail and signed a waiver of interest on February 23rd. On the other referrals, he did not sign a release of confidential information, so those referrals were not able to be set up.
Okay. And with regard to the waiver of interest, is Belong willing to accept that as part of this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How would you classify his overall level of compliance at this time?
Not in compliance.
Okay. Pass on this, Judge.
Let me ask a question. Can we get paternity testing done while he's in jail? That'd be something that could be done.
Judge, I can address that. We can get the referral sent, re-referral sent, and have it set up while he is incarcerated.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So Ms. Acevedo, do you have questions for Ms. Schoaf?
Yes, Judge, thank you. Ms. Schoaf, does Ms. Reyes stay in contact with you?
Off and on.
But she does maintain all of her visitation?
Yes, ma'am, she does.
And that has been consistent?
Correct, it has.
When was your last contact with her?
On February 27th.
Okay. Was that just contact with you, or was that a visitation?
That was just contact with myself.
Okay. Was that in person or over the phone?
I'm sorry. It was a phone call.
Okay. And at that time, did you discuss the permanency goal with Ms. Reyes?
I did not.
Okay. Is she aware of what the permanency goal is at this point?
No, ma'am. I attempted to meet with her earlier this month and have not been able to.
Okay. And I don't mean to be repetitive, but I don't think that she was on the call earlier. Can you repeat what the goal is?
Relative adoption.
Okay. So is that the department seeking termination?
We are still the concurrent goal of family reunification, but the primary goal has changed.
Okay. Mom is aware that the court has already ordered inpatient services for her?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did she indicate that she did not want to go into inpatient?
She's contacted Journey Recovery on December 14th. I'm sorry, not December 14th, on December 8th, advising she did not want to be on their list anymore. And then January 17th, she called to be added back to the list. However, they have not heard back from her. I did find out on February 27th that there is currently a bed available, which after my phone call, I did reach out to Marisol via text, but I did not hear back from her.
And when was that?
On February 27th.
Okay, and have you updated yourself on whether that bed is still available?
I have not called them since then, no, ma'am.
Okay. If mom wishes to take advantage of that opportunity, what does she need to do?
She just needs to contact Journey Recovery.
Do you know what happens if they contacted her, a bed was available and they didn't get in contact? Does she go back down the list? Do they save the bed for her? What happens?
They did not specify, they just state they need to hear from her.
Do you know of any other inpatient facilities that might be available to her?
The other one, the two closest ones are Journey Recovery and Alpha Home. She did tell me she did not want to go to Alpha Home because they do require her to quit smoking.
Okay. Are all of the 2054s for all of her other services available? Are they current?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I guess earlier you indicated that the judge wanted her to go to inpatient before any other services. Is that what the department is recommending?
I would recommend her engage in any service at this point so that we can get her working towards compliance.
Okay, and does she have all of the information that she needs to engage in these other services?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Harris, do you have questions for Ms. Shove?
Ma'am, were you present when Mr. Alakina signed his waiver of service?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you able to talk to him about the possibility that this might be his child?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was his response?
He understands, but he has a biological child of his own in his current relationship, and that's the child he wants to focus on.
And is he also incarcerated?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know for how long?
From my conversation, he sounds like he made a deal for 3 years.
No further questions, Judge.
Ms. Fuller?
Ms. Sho, do you feel that Belong has done everything that they could to attempt to engage Ms. Reyes in her services?
Yes, ma'am.
And although the court has ordered Ms. Reyes into inpatient at least 3 times, she refuses to go.
Yes, ma'am.
And as Ms. Acevedo said, you've set up all the other services. She just chooses not to do those as well.
Correct.
And you said the plan was relative adoption, but this is a fictive kin home, correct?
Correct.
So fictive kin, relative adoption.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have any concerns whatsoever with her present placement?
No, ma'am.
In regards to Reina's medical needs, do you feel that Ms. Peralta is working as best she can to determine what those needs are?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you ask the court to order Mr. Alaquenas and Ms. Reyes to provide any medical history for this child, for their family history, so it could help the doctors assisting in determining what the issues are?
Yes, ma'am.
And when Mr. Alaquenas signed the waiver of interest, he didn't sign any kind of medical history form, correct?
He did not. He verbally spoke about medical, but nothing on paper.
Okay. And what do you want to see from Ms. Reyes this day going forward?
For her to enter inpatient treatment.
And you said was it late February that she admitted to methamphetamine use?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you ask the court to order Ms. Reyes to have a hair follicle by 5 o'clock on Thursday?
Yes, ma'am.
Just to determine the extent of her drug use?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, I think that's, oh, Ms. Pearsall, do you have any question?
Thank you, Your Honor. You said the mother attended a domestic violence class. Was that in December of last year?
Double checking. It was either end of November, beginning of December. I don't have the exact date.
Okay, so she's had quite a few months to go back and never has gone back.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And prior to this becoming a legal case, this was a family-based case, and then a motion to participate was the mother, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And the department at this point has been asking this woman to work services for going on almost 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And the services hasn't changed, and neither has her lack of compliance.
Correct.
Now, the few drug tests that she has submitted to throughout this legal case, have they been concerning for methamphetamine use?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's consistent with what, by her own admission, is her drug of choice.
Yes, ma'am.
So sitting here today, as far as Ms. Reyes, do you have exactly the same concerns that started this case in the first place?
Yes, ma'am.
Now the questions.
All right. Are there any other issues we need to address? I do want to hear from the ad litem and the CASA, but meanwhile, are there any other issues or other witnesses, Mr. McKeska?
No other witnesses, Judge.
Ms. Fuller, what's your recommendation as the attorney ad litem for the child?
You know, it's sad to say, Your Honor, Ms. Reyes has been given every opportunity. She had a court-ordered services case. She had a family-based case before that case. So we're going on closer to 3 years, actually, of involvement with Ms. Reyes. She refuses to deal with her drug issues. And until she deals with those drug issues, there's no way this child can be placed back in her home. She does do well with visits, but, you know, an hour twice a month is nothing compared to 24/7 care of a small child. The baby is doing great in the care of Miss Peralta. I mean, she's thriving. They have noticed these medical issues. That's why I'm requesting that you order the parents to provide their medical history, just so we can assist the doctors in determining what's going on with her. But
Right.
She's happy, healthy where she's at. And, you know, this is all on the mother. She's been given every opportunity, and she refuses to engage in the services and the domestic violence, the parenting, counseling. She just won't do it. And regardless of whether the inpatient was ordered first, she's been given an opportunity to do the other services while she waited for a bed, and she still is choosing not to do it. And so I think that a fictive kin adoption is the plan, and that's what it should be, based on the fact that the mother is unwilling to get help and stop using methamphetamines. I would also ask for mediation in the case, Your Honor.
I made a note of that, so thank you. Ms. Rumley, do you have any CASA report? I'm assuming it would be you.
Yes, ma'am. You know, I do agree with Ms. Fuller. Marisol's been given many opportunities at many court hearings. We all expressed to her our desire to see her and her sobriety and be successful. But each time we leave the hearing and she does not take any action onto those things, even knowing that the end result of her not taking action could be losing custody of her daughter. And at this point, if there were challenges in the process, she's not bringing those up. And it's just very apathetic on the effort, and it would be in Reina's best interest for relative fictive kin adoption.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have anything else before the court makes a ruling then in this case? All right, the court will find that Ms. Reyes is not in compliance with the plan of service. And I'm going to just reiterate what people have said, and I read the notes from the prior case as well before today, and it was clearly ordered that Ms. Reyes attend inpatient treatment. As Ms. Fuller said, until you get a handle on your drug issues, there's really, I mean, I think going to doing other services can be helpful, but it's not going to take the place of you being sober, and there's no way that you're going to have a baby returned to you if you're not, and especially one with medical needs. So and the other thing I would say is, you know, there's a long waiting list for people who want to get into inpatient treatment programs that are not able to do it. And so you're taking up a spot on that list that someone who may be really, you know, eager to do it is not able to. And so I would suggest that for your own benefit and for your child's benefit that you do that as soon as possible. I am going to find that also the father is not in compliance with the plan of service. We really haven't established paternity, so I'm going to order that a paternity test be given to him while he is incarcerated. It sounds like he's going to be there a while, so that should be able to be accomplished. I'm going to reiterate the order, the prior order for inpatient treatment. I'm going to order that each parent provide a medical history form so that they can help with the diagnosis and treatment of this child. She's very, very young, so it's important that her needs are evaluated and met early on. I'm going to also order that Ms. Reyes have a hair submit to a hair test by 5 o'clock on Thursday. At 5 o'clock p.m. on Thursday. Also going to order this case to mediation. It looks like the next date in this case is a trial, which is May 14th at 9:30. I see that on the notes that there's an objection to the associate judge. So that would need to be set by, with a district judge. So I think the sooner I'm going to order that you all get mediation set up within the next 30 days so that you'll have plenty of time to get that done prior to the trial date as it is set right now. Ms. Reyes, it's important that you attend that mediation. This is a chance for you to participate in what happens to your child instead of just having a judge make that decision for you. So I suggest that it's in your best interest to make sure that you attend mediation so that your wishes can be considered in this matter. It sounds like no one has any concerns about the placement with Ms. Peralta, so court will find that that placement is safe and appropriate and is in the best interest of the child to continue that placement. Court will also find that it's not safe to return the child to either parent at this time. I would admonish the mother again that your rights are subject to being restricted or even terminated if you fail to show that you can provide a safe and stable home for your child. Are there any issues that I've forgotten to mention or that anyone else would like to mention? We're just about out of time, but we have a couple more minutes if anybody has anything else to bring up.
No, Judge, I believe you covered it all.
All right, well then I appreciate the work everybody is doing to try to make a safe place for this child. Ms. Reyes, I wish you would put in some of that effort as well. So if there's nothing further, then all parties may be excused. Thank you. Judge Morris.
Thank you,
Judge.
Covering just today only for Judge Falkenberg. Just so I will know who's here, let's go ahead and have announcements. We'll start with Mr. McKeska.
Thank you, Judge. Drake McKeska, attorney for the department. Ms. Buckner.
Cody Sherrod Buckner, permanency specialist for the case.
Christy Knott, permanency supervisor with Belong.
Kathleen Savage, attorney ad litem for the child. Your Honor, I'm ready.
Alana Official attorney for the mother who is not here, so I'm not ready.
Mr. Urbina, would you state your name, please?
Robert Urbina.
All right. Mr. Urbina's attorney, Ms. Acosta, is not present at this time. I'm going to overrule Ms. Pearsall's announcement of not ready. We are going to proceed with the hearing today. Let's see. Is there anyone else?
Oh, sorry. Jill Roden, Tri-County CASA.
Okay. And do you have a CASA volunteer?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Hart. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's okay. Kelly Hart, Tri-County CASA volunteer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are you the permanency specialist that's assigned to this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you please give the court an update on where the children are currently placed?
Yeah, so we have the Otis, who is Chloe, and then also the second middle child, which is Stormy. They are currently placed with great grandmother. And then we have Bailey, who is currently placed in the foster home.
Okay. How are Chloe and Stormy doing in their current placement?
They're doing really good. They have continued to bond it with their great grandmother. There are currently no concerns for those two.
Okay, and how long have they been placed in that current placement?
They was actually placed back in October of 2023.
Okay. Are they up to date on all their medical and dental appointments?
Yes, sir, they are. For Stormy, I know that she has been sick, so we're just waiting for her to come over that cough so she can go to her appointment for her Texas Healthy Step, so she could receive her last final 3 immunizations.
Okay. Are there any medical or dental concerns for either one of those girls at this time?
I know for Chloe, she does have a lot of dental problems, which a lot of cavities. That grandmother is working with one of the service provider to go in and do like some cleaning and filling and things like that. But she's just trying to make sure, because they do have a common cold right now, so they will not perform any dental work, due to the common cold that they have. But grandmother is on top of it.
Okay. So there are plans to address those dental needs at this time?
Yes.
Okay. Your report indicated that Chloe has signed up for therapy, but she's not been assigned a therapist. Do you have an update on how or on that progress?
Yes, she has been assigned a therapist, and her first session was March 4th. So she does go every Monday.
Okay, so she's had 2 sessions at this point then?
That is correct.
Have you been able to receive any sort of feedback from the therapist at this point?
No, sir, because they just started the initial, which was on, I do believe, last Monday, which was the 4th.
Okay. When you do receive updates regarding her therapy, will you provide that to all the parties?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have any concerns for the care that Chloe or Stormy are receiving at this time?
No, sir. Grandmother's very
Thank you.
tentative and kind of reaching out to me like if there's any concerns.
Okay. Do you believe that continuation in their current placement is in their best interest?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you asking the court to continue their placement today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then can you give the court an update on how Bailey is doing in her placement?
She's doing really good. They have been over and beyond with her medical care as well. I know for her, she's been having to go to the doctor very frequently. She was diagnosed with asthma, chronic cough, and GERD. And she's also seeing a pulmonologist. I know that the foster parents, when they do go to the doctor, they do make sure they send me those updates to kind of keep updated with her care.
Okay. Outside of the medical concerns that you just discussed, are there any other concerns?
Not concerns, but I know she is receiving ECI services where she is getting speech, occupational therapy. They would like to integrate feeding therapy as well, and that would be integrated with her speech. So they also have contracted out to an outside provider where they also waiting on the referral for the speech, and I do believe it's OT. I did explain to her once that has been set up to kind of reach out to me, and then we're still waiting on the swallow test to be scheduled. I did let the foster parents know, since I know those are usually referral order based. So once that is scheduled, to kind of let me know, and then I can let all parties
know. Okay. How's Bailey? Do you believe that all of Bailey's needs are being met in her current placement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you believe it's in Bailey's best interest to continue her placement in the foster home?
Yes, sir.
And you asking the court to continue her placement today?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. What is the current permanency goal for the children?
Currently, as of right now, it still remains as family reunification.
Okay. With regard to Miss Warren's family plan of service, has she engaged in any services at this point?
Yes, sir. She is engaging in her individual counseling. She has completed her psychological as well. She was also engaging in her couples counseling, which she has completed and was successfully discharged from that service. And then she is just started her individual parenting classes, and that was actually started on February the 27th. And she will have those classes every Monday.
Okay. What about her recommended drug treatment?
So she did complete the Ozark assessment, and it was reported that she was recommended to do outpatient services through mindful interventions, which she completed the assessment on 1/22. They did try to reach out to her, I do believe, last Wednesday. She did not answer, so they contacted me, and then I did let her know to contact them, but since then she has been hospitalized.
Okay. Will you continue to work with Ms. Warren to ensure that she's able to complete her outpatient services?
Yes, sir. And I did need to mention that she is required to do our family intervention prevention violence services, which is our BIP program for domestic violence, which she has been working with them. She just has not started.
Okay. Your report indicated that she completed a nail test on February 23rd, 2024. Is that correct?
It was completed, but it was canceled due to them not getting enough nail bed tests of the cuticle, sorry. I mean, of the nails.
Okay. Has she completed any other drug testing?
Yes, sir. So she has completed the UAs that I did ask her to complete, which for those is negative. I did ask for her, and some of those ones that she did not complete was counted as no-shows.
Okay. When's the last time she completed a UA?
That was December the 28th.
Okay, so she hasn't tested for you since December 28th. Is that correct?
So she has did the nail bed test. That was the only one that was in February, but again, it was inconclusive because all of the January and February were considered no-shows.
Okay. What are your current plans to have her submit to testing?
Continue to let her know within that 48-hour time span to go, and then making sure that she is receiving my text message of her donor pass.
Okay. How would you classify her overall level of compliance at this time?
Right now she is not in compliance due to her not being engaged in all of her services. And then currently right now, she does not have employment at this current time, which she did let me know that she is in the process of looking. So I did explain to her that she is not in compliance with her family plan service.
Okay. With regard to Mr. Urbina, can you give the court an update on how he's doing his family plan?
Yes, sir. Mr. Urbina is also supposed to engage in our family violence prevention service program through the BIP. I have been working with him to get that scheduled. I know I'm having to work with him because I know he's not email tech savvy, so I will have to kind of help him email the service providers because with them it'll have to come from him and not me due to the confidentiality. He also completed his Ozark assessment on January the 17th of 2024. Based on that recommendation, he was not recommended to do any services. He did start the individual counseling with AB counseling. He has been given a successful discharge, and also he did provide us with a relapse prevention packet. And then he also completed his psychological as well back in January of 2024. He is engaging in his parent-child visit. He also just now started his parenting classes. I do believe that was March 1st or the 6th, I do believe. And I have not received any updates, but from the email, he will also be required to engage in Monday parenting classes as well.
Okay. You said he completed a psychological evaluation. Were there any recommendations that weren't already included on his family plan of service?
No, sir.
Okay.
It's already been addressed within the family service, yes.
Okay, and I forgot to ask you, is mom participating in her visits with the children?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, do you have concerns for the visits for either parent?
No, sir, not at this moment.
Okay, and how would you classify Mr. Urbina's level of compliance?
As of right now, he is in partial compliance. Due to the fact that he has not fully engaged in the BIP service program. I know that is the only service that we're technically waiting for him to fully engage in at this current time.
Okay, pass witness judge.
All right, Ms. Pearsall?
Thank you, Your Honor. So mom has completed her Ozark and psychological and couples counseling, correct?
Her Ozark and couples counseling, yes, ma'am.
And her psychological?
Yes.
And she is engaged in individual therapy?
Yes, ma'am. I just have not received the therapy notes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but that's not on her, correct?
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
It's not mother's fault that you haven't received therapy notes.
No, ma'am.
Okay. She is attending all of her parent-child visits,
Yes, ma'am, thus far, yes, ma'am,
and those visits go well, correct?
yes. From the ones
Both parents have housing?
Yes, ma'am, they currently live together, yes.
Okay. And mother was employed until very recently.
Not to my knowledge, not since I've had the case.
Okay. And she, you said she was in the hospital. Was that because she had a kidney issue?
That is correct.
Okay, so that was outside her control. It was a medical emergency.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So wouldn't you agree with me based on everything she's done, she's at least in partial compliance?
I also have to, no, ma'am.
Now explain to the court how these visits are scheduled.
They do for Miss Warren, she does get weekly visits, for 1 hour.
Okay, and when are those visits?
They was scheduled for Fridays, but now they have moved to Tuesdays. So usually I do ask Miss Warren right before her visit end, is she okay with the visit being on Tuesday? And then at 5 o'clock, and then her and I would decide where at the location.
Okay, and then when are the father's visits?
The same thing. So I would do the same interchangeably. There also have been on
Okay.
Tuesdays.
Okay, so is it accurate to say that mom visits for an hour and then dad visits the following hour?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and these parents are residing together?
That is correct. Yes, ma'am.
And they finished couples counseling together?
That is correct. Yes.
And they have repeatedly expressed the desire to visit together?
That is correct. Yes, ma'am.
And wouldn't it make it easier for the department if these parents were visiting together instead of separately?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And I filed a motion that was set a couple of weeks ago and then reset to today for the court to consider whether to order these visits together. Correct?
I was aware of the last motion from the last hearing, but if you filed anything within the last 72 hours, I have not received it.
That wasn't my question. You were aware of the last motion. Are you aware that it was reset for today by the court?
Oh, yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So at this point, is the department against these parents who are a couple visiting together? Or is the department okay with that change as long as it's court order?
Yes, ma'am, we are okay with the parents having their visits together.
No other questions?
Let's see, Ms. Savage?
Yes, Judge Falkenberg at the last motion denied putting the parents' visits together since the mother had failed to complete his nail test that was ordered back in October. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and talking about mother's drug tests, she has not she has not completed half of the drug tests you sent her to. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
She hasn't done a hair test since Halloween, I believe, if not earlier.
That is correct.
Okay. And this case started because of the mother's methamphetamine use. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So she actually has not addressed the issue which brought the children into care. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we're halfway through this case and mother is still continuing to not actually engage in any kind of drug treatment to address her methamphetamine use, correct?
Well, she has completed her Ozark, which she was recommended to do mindful innovations. So we do look at that she has completed the assessment to engage. So she is addressing it. It's just more so her getting started into her services, which, you know, she was not.
You'd agree with me, Pearlie. She completed her OSAR back in January, correct?
Yes.
And they reached out to her January 22nd, correct?
No, she completed the intake. So she did the Ozark, and then once they make their recommendations, then they send it over to Mindful Innovations. So she had to do her initial assessment with them as well. And that was done on January the 22nd.
So she did her initial assessment with Mindful Innovations January 22nd.
Yes, ma'am.
That was 6 weeks ago,
Mhm.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Her hospitalization occurred this past week, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. So she's had plenty of time to actually get engaged in drug treatment, and she still hasn't done that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. In regards to the visits, isn't it true that Bailey is returned to her foster placement in a soaking wet diaper almost every week?
Yes.
Okay. Have you addressed with the parents the need to make sure they're changing their daughter's diapers?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And they're still not doing that.
They do change their diaper, but I know this past week mind you, the visits has been in the park and it has been hot, and I know she has been drinking a lot more fluids, and so I do let the parents know, hey, make sure you're changing her diaper. So again, yes, she does have a full diaper by the time I do reach the placement. Yes.
Okay. Are the parents bringing any kind of materials for their baby, like a diaper bag, food, change of clothes, diapers?
Yes, mom and dad. Yes.
They are bringing that, so they are providing that.
Yes, and I also take whatever mom has me to take to the foster parent. I also take that as well.
Okay. So I can let the foster placement know that she's not responsible for having to send that for Bailey.
Yes, that's fine. If she doesn't want to provide it anymore, that's yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the parents will take on that responsibility.
Yes.
Okay.
Moving
Have you
forward, yes, ma'am, they can.
Okay. Have you spoken to Mr. Urbina about his continued relationship with the mother if she does not address her drug issue?
Yes.
Okay. Because Belong cannot place 3 small children back in the home of a meth user. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
So if the mother does not address her drug issue, we will not be able to reunify.
With dad, yes, that is correct.
Well, with either parent, correct?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Right, I think that's everybody, and we're just about out of time. I did review the notes from last hearing, and I know that that issue about the visitation was brought up and denied by Judge Falkenberg. And I'd like to hear what Ms. Savage's recommendations are, because the nail test that was ordered is inconclusive, and I'm not understanding exactly why that is. What is your thought on this, Ms. Savage?
Yes, Your Honor. At the last hearing, the mother testified herself that she's put on fake nails. She's avoided this nail test that's been ordered since October. Judge ordered her to complete that drug test and reassess the request at today's hearing, but her going and still not having enough nails doesn't tell us what we need to know. She hasn't started outpatient drug treatment. She's still avoiding drug tests. So no, I think the orders need to stay in place, and Mr. Urbina needs to have a come to Jesus with his attorney, because even though he's sober and he's doing things, we can't give him his daughters back if he's still living with the mother who's still engaged in drug use. This is what started this case. So I think the testimony was a little sugar coated as to what the mother's doing. Like, that's great. She's done couples counseling, but she hasn't addressed the issue. We're still a huge methamphetamine issue that puts these girls in danger if they were to go home. And that issue is just being completely avoided. We only have 6 more months left in this case, and the mother hasn't taken it seriously. She's just going to UAs that she picks and chooses. There's been 7 tests requested. She's only attended 3. And it just so happened those 3 were UAs. So I don't think the mother's in compliance. I agree Mr. Urbina's in partial compliance, but can he really be in compliance if we can't give him his children back? But the placements are meeting the children's needs. They should stay where they're at. And I guess we'll see if the parents decide to really engage and address the issues of these girls in the
Okay.
Can y'all place her in a rehab or something like that? Because I don't think she's ever gonna get back on the track again. I really do think she's using, to be honest with you.
Okay, I'll address that with you, Mr. Urbina, and I think that's a valid concern. The problem is she's been ordered to do certain things and she's not doing it. The court can't force her to go into treatment. What I would say, and I do want to hear from Ms. Hart in just a minute, but I would find that the mother is not in compliance with the plan of service due to the fact that drug use is continued. And as all of you here know, if drug abuse is the problem, then there's no way that we can reunify this family until that issue has been addressed. And I agree, Mr. Urbina, you really need to look at yourself, because you seem like you're making efforts. And yet if she continues using drugs, there's no way that she can, that these children can be placed back with her. So you may need to have a talk with her, a talk with yourself about how you want to proceed. Today is what's called an initial permanency hearing. So it's about halfway through the 1-year time frame that we have for these cases. As Ms. Savage said, we've only got a few months left. So by this time in a case, I expect that parents have almost completely finished what they need to do. And that's, as far as drug treatment, we haven't even started as far as the mother is concerned. So, and these are young children that are vulnerable and, don't need to be put in that kind of a situation. So at this time, I will find that she's not in compliance. I will find that Mr. Urbina is in partial compliance. I'm going to continue the visits as they have been previously ordered. You all can readdress that issue later with Judge Falkenberg if things change. Ms. Hart, do you have a recommendation, and particularly as to the current placements of the children?
Your Honor, I'll be speaking for CASA today. Ms. Hart's been newly appointed.
Okay,
The placements we're happy with. We think the children should remain in their placements. We feel like it's in their best interest and they're meeting their needs. And I'm in agreement with Ms. Savage regarding the visitation. We believe until we have feedback from, drug treatment services and the BIT providers, we wouldn't be comfortable with changing the visitation. I also am kind of in agreement with Mr. Urbina's concerns, and I'm glad that he sees those concerns and is recognizing that, because we need a space for these girls long term. There are 3 little girls. We still aren't able to put the siblings all together. So I would really like one of the parents, if not both of the parents, to make the appropriate changes so these kids can safely return home at some point.
Right. And if you think, Mr. Arena, that she's still using, which it sounds like she probably is, you may need to figure out is it possible for you to take care of these 3 girls by yourself without her support? Or do you have some other family support or other way that you could provide, place for these children and a home for these children? So I don't expect you to answer that right now, but I think that's something that you really need to think about, okay? And I don't know why your attorney, Ms. Acosta, is not here today, but you need to contact her and discuss this with her fully. And if you
I
have
haven't talked to her since October.
well, if you're having trouble getting in touch with her, I would suggest you contact Judge Falkenberg's office and express your concerns, because now is the time in the case that we really need to see movement going forward, one way or the other. Either y'all both agree that you can't take the kids back, or you both agree that you want to take the kids back, or you agree and you decide you have to split and make individual decisions about this. This is a really critical period for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I want the kids. I'll take the kids at this. I know for a fact Kelsey's back on it right now. She's with her mom right now. Her mom does it. She could have made the meeting. There's no doctor's appointment. She ain't talking about no doctor's appointment. I know she could have made this meeting. She just don't want to hear the facts for today.
Well, and if you know anybody that might have any influence over her to talk some sense in her she's only being ordered to go into outpatient. That's pretty easy. It's a lot harder to go into inpatient. So, there's really no excuse for her not to be going into at least to outpatient treatment.
Yes, I tried to talk to her. She gets upset. She boxes herself in. She takes off in the car. She closes herself in the room. It's kind of hard to talk to her, and I don't want to get loud. I'm not, I just, calm down, and then she just takes off, goes to her mom's, and just like yesterday, I got off work and tried to call her. She was for dinner. She was at her friend, known meth house, a known meth friend, and that's just telling me facts right there that she's back on it. And then I don't want her to be at my house if she's on it. That's gonna make me look bad, like I'm not doing nothing to get my kids back. I want my kids back. This is all happening because of her.
Exactly. And I would advise you, do not engage with her, because you all could get somebody could call the police and report domestic violence or something like that, and that's been an issue too. So you need to just stay away from getting into any kind of an argument with her that could escalate. Okay. And what I would suggest you do too, try to contact your attorney, and then I would suggest you talk to Ms. Sherrod Buckner, maybe make an appointment to come into her office and ask her exactly what you need to do in order to make this work. Do you need to move? I don't know whose house y'all are living in. Do you need to move? Is there, something you can do that's different from what you're doing right now that would enable you to be able to get your kids back? Okay.
Yes, It's my house. She leaves. She comes back whenever she wants to. I told her to get all her stuff, move out of the house. She goes, no, I can't. I have to get eviction notice. It takes 30 days. I feel sorry for her because she has no place to go. The only place she's gonna go to, she's gonna go to her mom's apartment, which is she's a known meth addict. She lost her kids. She lost Kelsey. She goes to her friend's house, it's right down the road from my house, and she has no place to go but other than meth houses. And the only place I take her in is my house.
Well, it's nice that you feel sorry for her, but at this point, you really need to think about yourself and your children. The children are who I feel sorry for. And so
Yes, ma'am.
you may need to start an eviction. If it takes 30 days, then start it right now.
Yes,
And,
ma'am.
you know, I mean, I hate to be so hard. It would be, the best thing would be if y'all could be together and have your kids with you as a family. But I'm just saying, from what I'm hearing today, it's looking like that is not very likely to happen anytime soon unless she dramatically changes what she's doing.
Yes, it's gonna be hard for her to change. I just hoping y'all would send her to rehab because I think that's the only way that's gonna help her. Because she's just gonna keep doing it until she tests positive and positive, but she does really need rehab. I know Kathleen had talked about it. Maybe the last hearing we had, trying to send her to rehab. I really just think she really doesn't need it.
I mean, somebody can order her to rehab, but she can also just leave too. I mean, that's the problem, is it's really hard to make somebody do something. We're out of time now though, but I think that Mr. Urbina, you seem to understand very well the consequences, because you could end up losing permanent custody of your children. And so I don't necessarily think anyone thinks that's the best thing to happen, but you just need to be aware of it. Our next hearing will be on June 11th at 9:30. That's actually the last hearing before a final trial in this case. Final trial is August 13th at 9:30. So that doesn't really give you much time at all to get going. And so that's why I just stress the importance of this. Are there any, I will find that I already did the compliance findings. I will find that it's in the best interest of the children to continue them in their current placements, and I will continue those current placements. I will find that it's not safe for any of the children to be returned to either parent at this time under these certain circumstances. Is there anything else I need to order or we need to address? Mr. McKeska, do you know of anything?
No, Judge, I believe you covered it all.
All right, then if there's nothing further, then you all may be excused, and good luck to you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and have announcements, starting with Mr. McKeska.
Thank you, Judge. Drake McKeska, attorney for the department. Ms. Hernandez.
Bernice Hernandez, permanency specialist with Belong.
Jerome Ramirez, permanency supervisor with Belong.
Deborah Fuller, attorney for Carrie. Reyes, the mother. Your Honor, I'm announcing not ready. I've had no contact.
Okay.
Jennifer Harris, attorney for the alleged father. I'm also announcing not ready. I've had no contact.
Rochelle Savella for the child ready, Your Honor.
Okay.
Jill Roden, Tri County Casa.
Stephanie Lavelle, Casa Volunteer.
What's your last name, Miss
Lavelle.
Say that again. I'm sorry, I was talking over you.
Sorry, Lavelle.
LaBelle. Okay, thank you. Mr. McKeska, I'm going to announce, I'm going to overrule the announcements of not ready. This is a statutorily required hearing, and we are going to proceed today. So, Mr. McKeska, you may proceed.
Okay, the permanency specialist that's assigned to Caden's case.
Yes.
Okay, where's Caden currently placed?
Caden is currently placed at a foster home with Karen Muir in Bernie, Texas.
Okay, and how long has he been placed in that home?
He's been placed there since he was born. He was removed for a bit due to an investigation and was put in respite care and was returned on February 21st, 2024.
Okay.
And he's been there since.
Okay. You said there's an investigation. Was that into the foster home?
There was an investigation with the foster mom.
Okay. And was there any positive findings with regard to that investigation?
No, it was rolled out.
Okay. How's Caden doing in this placement?
Caden is doing really well. He's 5 months. He's a happy, growing baby. He's developmentally on target. He's happy. He enjoys being there. He's always smiling and laughing.
Okay. Is he up to date with his medical and dental appointments?
He's getting caught up with his medical appointments. He was just caught up with his 4-month on February 26th.
Are there any medical or dental concerns at this time?
There's not.
Okay. Your report indicated that there is a home study being conducted on the paternal grandmother, Miss Reyes. Is that correct?
It was completed, yes.
Okay, and was that home study approved?
It was approved.
Okay, has that home study been provided to the parties?
I do not know. I believe the previous caseworker received the home study.
Okay, if it hasn't been provided to the parties, are you willing to provide it?
Yes.
Okay. What is the department's current recommendation for placement of Caden at this time?
To continue placement at this time.
Okay, is there a particular reason why you are not advocating for placement with the paternal grandmother?
I believe the last hearing it was stated that he would be able to be moved if the paternity test came back positive and was not allowed to move until then.
Okay. And is there any update with regard to the paternity testing?
He did miss his first two. He does have another one scheduled for tomorrow, and he is aware of it.
Okay. And has Caden already been tested?
Yes.
Okay. Is the current placement meeting all of Caden's physical and emotional needs?
Yes.
Do you believe that continuation in that current placement is in his best interest?
Yes.
And you asked the court to continue his placement today?
Yes.
Okay. With regard to Miss Reyes, how is she doing in her family plan?
I have not been able to get in contact with her. I haven't been able to review the family plan with her. She has not started any services and has not signed the release of information.
Okay. When's the last time you had contact with Miss Reyes?
The last time she called me on February 15th, and she just asked if Caden was placed with Miss Rios and if Dad had completed the paternity test.
Okay. At that time, were you able to discuss any services with her?
I was. I asked her if she would be able to meet with me in person to go over her family plan. She stated that she would get back to me.
Okay. Have you attempted to contact her since February 15th?
Yes, I went yesterday to her home and was not there.
Okay. Have you attempted to contact her via phone or text message?
Yes, I usually do that every week.
Okay. How did you classify her overall level of compliance at this time?
Not compliant.
Okay. Your report indicated that she completed drug testing on February 24th. Is that correct?
They were pending and they were no-shows.
Okay. Has she submitted to any request for drug testing at this time?
She has not.
Is Ms. Reyes attending parent-child visits?
She has not.
Okay. What is the current visitation schedule?
It's 1 hour a week.
Is Ms. Reyes required to confirm those visits in advance?
She is, yes.
Okay. If she doesn't confirm those visits, are the visits canceled?
Yes.
Okay. Are you making any recommendations to the change in visitation schedule today?
Not at this time.
With regard to Mr. Coronado, can you give the court an update on how he's doing his family plan?
Yes, so I was just able to meet with him yesterday, and he finally signed the release of information. I did send out his referrals for OZAR, psychological, and parenting, and he stated that he is willing to start services, but he did not sign the family plan.
Okay, did you provide a copy of the family plan to him?
I have not. I need to email it to him.
During your meeting with him, did you make him a point or aware of his DNA test or remind him of it?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
He stated that he would go.
Okay. At this time, how would you classify his current level of compliance?
He's just starting to comply.
Okay. Is he having any sort of parent-child visits?
We have just scheduled one for either this Thursday or Friday.
Okay. Is he going to be required to confirm those visits in advance?
He is, yes.
And what is his visitation schedule?
1 hour a week.
And if he fails to confirm the visit, is the visit canceled?
Yes.
Pass witness, Judge.
Ms. Fuller, any questions?
Ms. Hernandez, I wanted to go back to the investigation. When was that investigation against the foster home?
I believe it opened up on December 30th, 2023.
And so it took 2 months to close the investigation?
Yes.
And when did you get the case?
I received it about a month ago.
Okay. And were you aware that the attorneys weren't informed of the investigation?
I was not. I was not even informed of it either.
Okay. So do you have any concerns whatsoever with the foster home since it seemed like that was a lengthy investigation?
I do not at this time. I went the next day and everything seemed fine. I spent over an hour with foster mom and Caden, and the home seemed fine. Very loving, caring home.
And did in fact Caden also had like a mark or bruising or something also?
He did have a mark, or it was a mark. It wasn't a bruise on his arm. Yes.
Okay. And what did they determine that was?
It was due to a surgery that he had. Either a cord or something marked him.
Okay. And when you met with, you said that you've never met with my client, Miss Reyes.
I have not met with her in person now.
And what address do you have for her?
61.
And you have indicated that previously that she had warrants for her arrest, correct?
Yes.
Have you checked any of the jails to determine if she's in the Medina jail or Bexar County or anywhere?
Yesterday when I went to her home, her grandmother told me that she just wasn't home.
Okay, so she's still living with her grandmother?
Yes.
And it's your statement today that she has not engaged in any services whatsoever?
Yes. Whatsoever.
Okay, and she's had no visits whatsoever?
She has had no visits.
And do you feel you've done everything that you could to try to engage her in these services?
Yes.
And when you spoke with her in February, did she indicate she wanted her child with Miss Rios?
She did.
Okay. And that was a positive home study?
Yes, it was a positive home study.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Harris?
You said that you sent out referrals for Mr. Coronado's services, correct?
Yes.
What does he need? Does he need to call to set those up, or will those providers contact him?
The providers usually call him.
And about how long should he wait to expect to hear from them?
They usually call between a week.
Okay. And if he doesn't hear from them, what does he need to do?
He could call them, or he can tell me and I can call the service providers.
And the home study that was completed, it is his relative, correct?
It is his mom, yes.
And has he indicated to you that whether that's where he would like for his son to be?
Yes.
And the Caden has not been placed there yet, correct?
Correct, yes. He's not placed there yet.
And what is the reason he's not been placed there yet?
He has not been placed as he has not completed the paternity test, as William hasn't completed the paternity test.
And if he misses the paternity test, are there other methods in order to get that established?
There could be. A relative could also possibly do a DNA test.
No further questions, Judge.
Ms. Acevedo?
Thank you, Judge. With regard to the home study, it sounds like both mom and dad want the child placed with Miss Rios, correct?
Yes.
And have you talked to Miss Rios about the DNA and why the department wants that?
Yes, I spoke to her today.
Has she indicated what her intentions would be if it wound up being that dad was not the father?
Yes, she still wants to have Caden.
Okay. And so knowing that, what is the department's position with placement?
We can place Caden with Miss Rios as soon as the paternity test comes back, as that was stated in the previous order.
And I'm sorry, you're saying that was ordered by the court?
Yes, it was ordered not to move him until Mr. William completed his paternity test.
Okay. Have you talked to any family members that might be able to do the DNA in lieu of him?
I spoke to Ms. Rios this morning, and she stated that William has 2 adult sons that are willing to do the DNA test if Mr. William Coronado does not attend tomorrow's paternity test.
And will you be following up on that?
Yes.
Okay. And with regard to the investigation, foster mom did have other children in the home.
Yes.
The referral was not in regards to Caden, correct?
It was not.
Okay. And since then, have all of the children been placed back with foster mom?
Yes.
Okay. And you indicated you already saw the home and there's no concerns that the department has?
Yes.
Okay. Is this a foster to adopt home?
It is not.
Okay. So regardless, we need to find placement for Caden. Permanent placement.
Yes.
Okay. I'll pass, Judge.
Right. So, do you have any recommendations? Ms. Acevedo, I did notice in the notes that I read from Judge Falkenberg that the child was not placed due to the paternity test not being completed. I'm not sure if that was actually an order of the court, but I'm not really inclined to change that.
That's my understanding.
And have you had a chance to speak to the grandmother?
Yes, actually, she calls me about every week, checking on the baby.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I was losing power. And has she indicated that she's willing to take the baby regardless?
Yes.
Has she raised other half siblings?
Yes, she has.
Are
She
any
has.
of them still there?
Yes, they are.
Order at this time, and hopefully if he shows up for that paternity test tomorrow, then that could, resolve that issue. Do you have any other recommendations or anything to report?
Judge, I am hoping that Dad will show up. I mean, I don't know if Miss Harris can encourage him or maybe Grandma, somebody. But if this is what's needed, I'm hoping that could be done in consideration of the fact that we don't have, Caden is in a very, very good home. But unfortunately, it's just not a foster to adopt. And so we need to find permanency for him, especially in regards to where the parents are and their lack of involvement. I think we need to start looking into the future into that. I have spoke with Miss Rios. She is committed to him. And it sounds like both the parents want this. And so, I'm hoping that that's something that we can resolve through the court if we can't get this DNA done. As far as Caden, Judge, he's doing really, really well. He's meeting all of his milestones. There's no issues or concerns with him. He, obviously there was that investigation. I think there was, but foster mom says that the respite kept him on a good schedule. So, the transition, while I'm sure it was traumatic on everyone, I think that he's transitioned back very well. And pretty seamlessly. So if Dad is somewhat engaged, I hope that continues.
Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I would just like to say my client, originally we asked, Dad asked for the DNA. My client had wanted her child with Ms. Rios. We were hoping that he would do the DNA just to solidify that. But if I haven't had any contact with her since the original hearing, but since she has told Ms. Hernandez that she wants the child with Ms. Rios and Ms. Rios is willing to accept the child regardless of whether that is her grandson, I would ask that the child be moved on behalf of my client, if that is what she has indicated to Ms. Hernandez. She did want that in the very beginning of the case, but then Mr. Coronado asked for DNA testing. And so kind of put that on hold. But
one of my concerns is I thought that there was testimony that the mother actually lives in that home.
She lives with her grandmother. This is the paternal grandmother, and she actually lives, I think, up north somewhere, North Texas, I think. But she lives with her maternal grandmother in Hondo, my client.
Okay, so Ms. Rios lives in another county. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, because one of my concerns too is that sometimes parents want the child placed with a relative so then they don't have to do anything and then they can still visit the child. And hopefully those issues were addressed as part of the home study.
Yeah, she lives in Columbus, Texas. I'm not sure where that is, but that's where the paternal grandmother lives.
I think it's near Houston possibly, but anyway. Okay, let's see. Ms. Lavelle, do you have anything to report or any recommendations?
Well, COSTA recommends that Caden remain in his current placement, but also that more permanent placement options begin to be considered.
Okay. All right, so at this time, the court will find that no parent is in compliance with the plan of service. I wouldn't say the father has done anything other than just meet once with the caseworker and say that he wants to do services. So that's basically nothing. And so, we're at the initial permanency hearing, at which time there should be some significant progress. There's been absolutely no progress. So hopefully the father will show up at the for the paternity testing. I'm going to continue the child in his current placement until that testing comes back. I would also say that before the child is moved, I would want to make sure that the department or belong notifies all the parties to let them know what's happening before it happens, so that if anybody has any objection or whatever, they could bring it to the court's attention. So I think that's all as far as findings go. We are scheduled for the next permanency hearing on June 11th at 10 o'clock and a trial on August 13th at 10 o'clock. And I don't know how you all feel, but maybe this case could be scheduled for mediation sooner rather than later, and see if maybe there's some agreement to the parties to place with the grandmother. She seems appropriate. Maybe that could be a quicker resolution to the case. I don't know, but since the child is going to have to be moved anyway, I do agree that, if he's not in a current permanent placement, then we need to make a permanent plan just as soon as possible. I just think that if we can establish paternity, that could be quickly, that would be helpful. So I'm not going to order it to mediation right now, but I think that might be something that y'all could look into and consider, even if you do it informally, like maybe through an FGC or something, if everybody seems to be kind of on the same page, which it seems like more or less. I know CASA is not in agreement with that, but because the grandmother lives out of county, I don't know that anybody in this case has really had an opportunity to visit the home or speak with her in person, and that might be helpful too. So
And Your Honor, if Mr. Coronado misses the DNA test tomorrow, can we have it in the order that we will request a DNA test from one of his older siblings or sons?
Sure, that sounds fine. Just make sure when the order gets circulated to you that you check on that. Since we've got Mr. McKeska's filling in today and I'm filling in today, so y'all that are on the case, make sure you look at it before it gets to the judge. So, all right, is there anything else further? All right, then, if nothing further, then you all may be excused. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
Let me go ahead and have announcements. I will say that this is March 12th, 2024. I'm visiting Judge Morris, covering for just today for Judge Falkenberg. So let's have announcements, starting with Mr. McKeska.
Drake McKeska, attorney for the department. Ms. Del Santos.
Those permanency specialist with Belong.
Christy Knopf, permanency supervisor with Belong.
Jennifer Harris, attorney for the respondent mother. She's not present, but I'm ready to proceed.
Okay.
Kathleen Savage, attorney for the respondent father, Mr. Humphreys. He is present. Mr. Humphreys, if you can unmute and announce your name for the record.
Christopher Humphrey Jr., Weston Lane Humphrey's father.
Richard Sullivan, attorney for the child, ready?
All right, so
I'm sorry.
Did I miss something?
We're Rochelle Acevedo for Mr. and Mrs. Humphreys. They're interveners. And Judge, I think that's my client that might have just logged in.
Chris Humphreys, grandfather for Weston Humphreys.
Okay, I didn't hear that very well, but I think it's Mr. and Ms. Humphreys who are the paternal grandparents and
Yes, ma'am.
in this case. Okay. And they are also the placement, is that correct?
No.
No. Okay.
That is correct, Judge.
Oh, they are the placement?
They are the placement, Judge.
Okay. I know that you all had, this is case has been on an extension. There was a trial and then there was a Rule 11 agreement. And I don't know that we necessarily need to go through that whole thing, but I do know a little bit about the background. So Mr. McKeska, why don't you go ahead and go forward with what we're where we're going at this point.
Sure, Judge, I might need a little assistance from the other attorneys since I'm also just covering. Ms. Del Santos, where's Weston currently placed?
He is currently placed in a kinship foster home with paternal grandparents.
Okay,
in
and how is
Castro,
he doing?
Texas.
And how is he doing in that placement?
He's doing really well. He's bonded to grandparents. He attends daycare. He's happy there.
Okay, is he up to date on all of his medical and dental appointments?
Yes, he is.
Are there any medical or dental concerns at this time?
No concerns.
Okay. Is the current placement meeting all of his physical and emotional needs?
Yes, they are.
Okay. At this point, we're in a transitional monitored return. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and that transitional monitored return is actually going on with both parents?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. What is the current visitation plan for the parents?
Right now, mom is getting visits on Tuesdays, which are her weekly visits, and then she has the first and the third weekend of the month, and then dad has the second and fourth weekend of the month, and then with grandparents with the fifth weekend of the month, if there's a fifth weekend in the month.
Okay. And is there a planned increase in that schedule?
Currently, right now, no.
Okay. How long have the parents been having the 1 day a week visitation and then the weekend visitation?
The weekly visits have been going since the life of the case, but the visitation, the weekend overnight visits. So January was a one overnight stay with the first mom having the first and third and dad having the second and fourth weekends. And then in February, it increased to the weekend visit with mom having the first and the third and dad having the second and fourth.
Okay, and have you had any concerns with the visits thus far?
No concerns.
Okay. Do you think that the current continuation of that visitation plan is in the child's best interest?
At this time, yes.
Okay. Can you give the court an update on how Ms. Soto is doing in her family plan?
Okay. She has completed her psychological evaluation. She completed her OSAR and was recommended inpatient, which she completed in October of 2023. She completed parenting classes and domestic violence classes. She also she resides with her uncle and has a home and is employed and has been employed since being released in October from inpatient in 2023, sorry.
Okay.
And has tested negative on her drug tests. Sorry.
Okay. Are there any ongoing services at this time?
Just drug testing at this time.
Okay. Is Belong asking Ms. Soto to engage in any additional services at this time?
Yes, we'd like to see her engage in counseling, focusing on co-parenting with Mr. Humphreys.
Okay. Is the purpose of re-engaging engaging in a co-parenting program because we're increasing the visits between the parents and the child?
That is correct.
Okay. You think it's important that they be able to work together as this schedule increases?
Yes.
Okay. With regard to Mr. Humphreys, has he also completed all of his other services?
Yes, he has.
Okay. And so the only continued service you're asking him to complete is the co-parenting program?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have any concerns for either parent at this time?
No, with dad just ensuring that he does get a driver's license reinstated.
Okay.
As soon as possible.
And do you believe that continuing in the transitional monitored return is in Weston's best interest?
Yes.
Okay. Pass the witness, Judge.
All right, so Ms. Harris,
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Savage,
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Saldivar.
Yes, does Weston need anything ordered from this court here today?
No.
Okay. And do you have an update on the parents' criminal cases at this point?
Mom did, she did go to criminal court. She was added, her charge it was added to her probation that she was already on. And then dad is still pending his court hearing. I believe it's March 19th.
Okay. Do you know how? Okay. So dad's still pending. And do you know how long mom will be on probation for?
I don't know exactly what adding this is to. She was supposed to get me the paperwork once she did her monthly check-in with her probation officer, Mr. Benavides.
Okay. Will you circulate that information to the parties once you have it?
Yes, I will.
Okay. And you're asking the placement to continue at this time. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And the grandparents are meeting all his needs and he's doing well with the grandparents. Is that correct?
Yes, he's doing extremely well with them.
Okay. Any concerns reported from daycare at this time?
No concerns, just we had a little pickup concern at one time, but that was it. And it was resolved.
Okay. Pass the witness, Judge.
All right, Ms. Saucevedo, do you have any questions for Ms. De La Santa?
No questions, Judge.
Okay. All right, so I think that everybody has had a chance to question Ms. De Los Santos. Does anybody have anything else to add at this point? Mr. Saldivar, what is your report going forward?
Judge, Weston's been doing great with the grandparents this whole case. I have no concerns for him being there. I think at this point we're coming down to how do we settle this case visitation-wise and possession-wise. I believe that the therapy will help the parents co-parent so we don't have any issues going forward. So I'm in agreement with requesting that they both engage in counseling to co-parent and that the parties just update everyone regarding the outcome of their criminal cases so that we have an idea of what we're looking at going back to mediation.
Right, and I will just add that one of my concerns is it looks to me like the trial is scheduled for May 14th at 1:30, and so that doesn't give a whole lot of time to continue those that transitional monitored return as far as transitioning back home. But I would think that until the criminal cases are resolved, that might be an issue. So I don't know if y'all have a plan about that going forward. Does anybody respond to that or?
I think we're very close on that, Your Honor.
Okay. I mean, I trust y'all are all experienced attorneys and y'all can figure it out. I'm glad that Weston's doing well with his grandparents. It's my personal hope that I always feel that children need their parents, but they also need their grandparents. They need their aunts and uncles. They need their entire family. And so it's my hope that not only can the parents take a co-parenting class, but that the grandparents would continue to be involved in his life. He's obviously very attached to them and they're attached to him. And that's a huge benefit for him. And it should be a huge benefit to the parents too, going forward, have reliable people that can care for him. So at this time, I will find that both parents are in compliance with the plans of service. I will order that both parents attend the co-parenting class. We'll continue the child in his current placement and find that placement is safe and is in his best interest. I will order that the transitional monitored return process continue. And you all, I hope will meet, go to mediation or family group conference or whatever you need to do as needed going forward prior to that May trial date. Is there anything that I've left out or anything that anybody would like to add at this point?
Judge, what was that trial date again? I'm sorry, I missed that.
May 14th at 1:30.
Thank you.
Sure. Well, good luck to you all. I'm very glad that the parents are working, and I'm very glad y'all are lucky that you've got the grandparents there that have been willing to take care of your child while you're not able to do so. And that's something that you should be very thankful for. So if there's nothing further, then I would just wish all of you good luck going forward. And All parties may be excused. So
Thank
let's
you.
go ahead and have announcements and find out who's here. And we'll start with Ms. Kyler Green.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Emily Kyler Green, attorney for the department.
And who will be testifying on behalf of the department and belong today?
I believe it's going to be Miss Balderas. Can you announce, please?
State your name, please.
Ryan Balderas.
All right. Who else do we have?
Marisol on behalf of the children.
All right.
Jill Roden, Tri-County CASA.
Kim Fulton, CASA.
Okay, Ms. Kyler Green.
Thank you, Your Honor. Miss Balderas, I apologize for mispronouncing your name earlier. What's your role in this case?
The caseworker.
Okay. And let's talk about the three kids, correct?
Four.
Excuse me. Where are they all placed right now?
So all of the children are placed with family at the moment. The two oldest children are placed with fictive kin in San Antonio. Savannah, the third child, is also placed with fictive kin in San Antonio, and the youngest child is placed with an uncle in Helotes.
What's the permanency goal for all four children?
Relative adoption.
And is there any possibility of the kids being adopted together, or is that not part of the plan?
It's not part of the plan at the moment. We do have two of the children together, but it has been a lot for all of the caregivers. So where they're at currently is the best option for them to be adopted.
Okay. Are all the placements for the children safe and appropriate, meeting their needs?
They are.
And is it in the best interest of all four children to stay in their current placements?
Yes.
What county are the two oldest in?
In Bexar County.
As well as Savannah?
Yes.
Okay. Are they having visitation together?
They are. We're having once a month visitation.
Okay. Are the educational needs of the children being met?
Yes, they are.
Do they receive any special services for education?
Yes. All of the children except for Noah receive special education services. The two oldest, Natalie and Stephen, just moved to their new placement last week, so they'll be starting school on this coming Monday, since they are on spring break at the moment, but all of their 504 accommodations will transfer over.
Okay. Do they have all the necessary resources for starting this new school year? Or not school year, but starting this new school?
Yes, they do.
What grade are they in?
Natalie is in 8th grade, Stephen is in 7th grade, Savannah, I believe, is in 6th grade, and then Noah is, I want to say, in 1st grade.
And are they all on grade level?
No, I'm sorry. Natalie should be in 9th grade, but she's in 8th grade.
But the other ones?
I believe the other ones are all on grade level. Noah, I think, may need to be in 2nd grade, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Let's talk about their health. Are their medical, dental, and vision up to date?
Yes, they are.
And are any of the children receiving psychotropic medications?
Yes. Natalie, Stephen, and Savannah are all on psychotropic medications. They're all seeing the same doctor, Dr. Gossett, and so far there have been no issues with their medications.
Is the medication review up to date?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Any sort of medical needs that the children have that are not currently being met?
No, all of the children are in good health, and their caregivers are able to take them to the doctor when necessary.
Okay. Do any of the children receive any services such as counseling?
Yes. Savannah is going to start counseling with Arrow. It's who her caregiver is going through licensing with. And then Natalie and Stephen are going to start counseling soon as well. I just need to find a provider that services children in their area.
Is there any specific sort of counseling that they're receiving, or is it just kind of generalized?
For Savannah, we are looking for family therapy to help her adjust into Miss Bettis's home. We do think that'll help her because it was a bumpy start, but she's doing very well now. For Natalie and Stephen, we are looking for family therapy for the both of them because they have been just disagreeing, having a lot of sibling fights lately, and I think that family therapy would help them again.
Okay. The last court hearing that we had, the judge ordered an expedited home study. Was that completed?
Yes, I believe if that was for Cassandra Lopez, that was completed and approved.
Okay, and what's the plan with that?
We are looking for relative adoption with Miss Lopez.
For who?
For Natalie and for Stephen.
Is that the placement that they have recently been moved to?
Yes.
Okay. What sort of reasonable efforts have, besides what you've mentioned, what sort of reasonable efforts have you done to help facilitate the permanency goal of all 4 children?
So all of the families have had a home study done and approved. So they are receiving the kinship funding. This new placement for Natalie and Stephen, they have not yet started receiving the kinship funding, but they will have a kinship worker assigned to them. And we will also start working to get them licensed as well. The licensing process has started for Miss Bettis. She's going through Arrow. And then the licensing process for Mr. Garcia has been put on hold. He has told us that he doesn't have time at the moment, so we are going to continue to encourage him to start that process again so that the kinship funding does not run out. Okay.
Any other services or any other orders that you're requesting of the court order today to help the children?
Not at this time. I believe all the needs of the children are being met.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
I have a quick question, and I'm assuming this is the case, but if all the parents' rights have been terminated?
Yes.
Previously, and so the children are available for adoption?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Ms. Pearsall, do you have questions?
I do not, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to hear a report or anything you'd like to offer, Ms. Pearsall, as the attorney ad litem for these 4 children.
Judge Noah is doing well. He's been in his placement this entire case. They've moved to a much bigger home. The big issue with this case was these kids haven't been to school for years prior to removal, and Noah specifically has never been to school. And he thoroughly believes, because that's what he was told by his placement based on what he told me, is that he doesn't go to school because he's stupid. And, you know, he just doesn't get it. And at this point, he is doing amazingly well. And he's actually currently being tested for gifted and talented.
Wow.
And he's come full circle to where now he'll tell you he's smart.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so he's just doing incredibly well. And I'm just super proud of him. He really likes his sibling visits. And he really wishes he had them more than he does. I know Savannah sometimes goes over to where he's at and they get to hang out. But he only sees Natalie and Stephen once a month. And that's, I would say, the only thing he complains about is he really wishes he could see them more.
So is his current placement the placement that is being considered for adoption?
Yes, it is.
And you obviously believe that is appropriate then?
Yes, I think they've done an excellent job with him.
Okay.
Savannah's placement is appropriate. She likes it there. She's a preteen. So she, has a little bit of struggles with issues, but, I think they're working to meet her needs. Natalie and Stephen, Judge, is just brand new, so it's hard to tell. I mean, the kids have just been there for a few days. Stephen has managed to get himself grounded already for a month, which I thought was a bit extreme since he's only been there for a couple of days.
Poor thing.
So I don't know if maybe we should talk about, hey, there are extreme punishments that maybe we shouldn't do. But they are definitely bickering, and Natalie's she's just super negative and super mean and really likes to point out everything he's ever done wrong. So I do think, they could definitely use, some guidance on how to get along. They are very happy there. So far, they considered placement. They both really wanted to go there for a very long time. I'm kind of hoping it'll work because it's a little bit of a strange placement in terms of relationship. This is their terminated father's ex-girlfriend's mother.
Okay.
So I'm just hoping that, this will stick, because that's something the kids have been asking for a long time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Pearsall. And either Ms. Fulton or Ms. Roden, would one of y'all like to give me your report from CASA?
Sure. Yeah, I've been very involved with these children and visit them all the time, and super excited that they're all where they are at the moment. Like what Ryan and Alana said is all true. They have been through a lot, especially, Savannah, Stephen, and Natalie. But there's not a whole lot of options for them, and I certainly want to keep them out of care. I just visited Natalie and Stephen at Grandma's house a few days ago, and they're really happy there, and Grandma's happy, and I'm just going to do everything I can to help that stay a successful placement. Noah's amazing, and yeah, we've got to push for Daniel, and I'll help with that. He's just obviously doesn't have the time to push for kinship adoption, but that's important, that because every time I talk to them, they want to adopt Noah. And I visit Joy and Savannah, and they're doing great. Joy is a godsend. I mean, she's really worked hard because Savannah has had some difficulties. I don't know what you said about funding. I know they really need a 3-bedroom because Joy had 2 children, and they're just living in 2 bedrooms, and it would be really nice if there's anything we can do. But I think that had a lot to do with their Social Security cards needing to come through and everything. So all in all, I'm just very happy where this case is and very hopeful.
So let me ask you, obviously they're in good placements that everybody feels are appropriate for adoption. Then are there some barriers that either Belong or CASA could help with to, making these adoptions happen sooner rather than later? I guess that is a question for you, Ms. Baldadas.
Yes, so there are some barriers. As far as Mr. Garcia, he has put a hold on his licensing, so I would just need to talk to him again. I do plan to go out with a kinship worker this month to have that conversation with him to see what it is that we can do to help out. I know that he had been going through the process. There really hadn't been issues. I think it's just time constraints for the family. For Ms. Bettis, she is on track to becoming licensed. She's working with Arrow. She's been progressing. So I know that there really are no barriers right now to get her licensed. And then same with the grandmother. She just needs to start with an agency. I know she does have some CPS history that could be a barrier to getting licensed, but we're just going to follow through until, they tell us that it's not possible. And at that point, we would need to reassess whether they can go through with adoption. But I know that Stephen and Natalie want to be with this grandmother of theirs. It's where they've been the happiest. And I know that she wants to adopt both of them as well.
To me, the hardest thing is getting them in the right spot. So it seems like that, everybody wants to really support that. And what I would say is I would urge you to maybe involve CASA on the case where the person is just having trouble finding the time to get the paperwork. And it sounds like Ms. Fulton is committed to try to helping, maybe somebody could literally go over there and help them fill out stuff. Because I know that can be really overwhelming, that it's not an easy process or quick process. So maybe.
Yeah, I will definitely make an effort here.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Fulton. I appreciate that. Are there any other issues that we need to address then, or any specific orders of the court that you all need? I think I will go ahead and order that there be some family therapy with the 2 children that you all have mentioned, because it seems like that would be really important. And given their ages, we really want that placement to be successful, because other options may not be that, readily apparent. So I will find that the placements of all 4 children are safe and appropriate, and that it's in the best interest of the children to continue those placements. And I will also add that we'll order the family therapy for, I believe that's Stephen and Natalie, and approve the permanency plan as adoption for all 4 children by their current placements. I'm glad they're getting sibling visits. I know kids never think it's enough. It sounds like there's been at least monthly visits have been ordered. If anybody can help facilitate additional visits, then of course that's always, a positive thing. So, it looks like the next hearing is scheduled for August 13th at 1:30. Be nice if we could maybe even get Noah's case ready before then. Since they're in different placements, they don't have to have adoption hearings at the same time. So it seems like whatever case gets ready first, we should, go forward with. Are there any other issues or findings that I need to make from your perspective, Ms. Kyler Green?
Your Honor, if you could make findings as to the reasonable efforts to help.
Right. I actually wrote that down and I forgot to do it. I will find that reasonable efforts have been met to find appropriate placement and to facilitate the permanency goals in this case. And that indeed, it seems that good progress is being made toward those goals. These sibling groups of 4, especially when they're a little bit older, or as you all and I know, that those are some of the most difficult. So like I said, I think the best news is that they're placed where they want to be and in safe and appropriate placements. All right. Anything else? Anything from you, Ms. Pearsall?
Judge, I had a question for Ms. Valderas. I forgot to ask earlier. Could she update everybody as to the Social Security issue and what is being done to resolve it?
Yes, so I actually spoke to the SSI coordinator yesterday. I applied for the Social Security cards, I want to say back at the end of January. They had a meeting with SSI in February, and they confirmed that the numbers were still correct for the children. So I think there's a discrepancy with the name, which is why the caregivers were having issues applying for SNAP benefits and for housing. For the taxes. They were coming back as incorrect Social Security numbers, but I'm going to get with Mr. Garcia today to see if he can apply for Noah on his taxes with to know if that fixes the issue. But as of yesterday, CPS went ahead and submitted the applications that I applied for back in January. And so it should be about, they said 5 to 7 weeks, but sometimes it can be sooner.
Okay, so the mystery as to why nothing matches is the kids' Social Security numbers and names were never changed, even though their names were changed in the last adoption.
Yes, I believe that is the issue.
Okay, and so now that we got that clarified, we should have Social Security numbers and at least under the wrong name within 5 to 6 weeks.
Well, I believe the SSI coordinator is going to update their name or Social Security cards.
So is that going to delay the process, or does that include 5 to 7 weeks?
That includes the 5 to 7 weeks. It shouldn't be a delay.
Okay, so how do these placements know, like, when to switch names?
I wouldn't be too sure. I will clarify with the SSI coordinator.
Okay, and you'll update everybody?
Yes.
Okay, is there anything the court can order to speed up a resolution of this issue, especially considering taxes are going to need to be filed long before 5 to 7 weeks?
I don't believe so. We're just waiting on SSA to get back to us with those cards.
Okay, that's all I had, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Pearsall. That's an important issue. Anybody else? It sounds like y'all are really on top of this, that everybody's been working really hard to try to achieve things, and all the home studies that have been ordered have been done and placements have been made. And so that's good because, I know that sometimes seems like it takes forever to get those things accomplished. And so it seems like you all have done a good job with moving forward on that. So as I said, we'll just continue everything. The orders will be in place and we'll be back on, what did I say, August 13th? I think I said.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. At August 13th at 1:30. All right, then, if there's nothing further, then all parties may be excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.